Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another review for Chainsaw Man Chapter 99. And after last week's fast-paced chapter and the gruesome ending, this chapter was equally refreshing, but even without the gruesome action, it still gave us those dark and gritty moments that make people gravitate towards this franchise. The whole concept of the War Devil being inside of Mitaka is so good because it successfully adds another layer of conflict to the story by having the introduction of the split personality and the clashing of the wills. A lesser mangaka would have just gone with the War Devil takes over Mitaka's body, and now she'd be hunting down Chainsaw Man, and that would have worked as a story in of itself. But by going this route, Fujimoto successfully builds on the last chapter, right where you had Mitaka about to die, and we saw her longing for things in her life that she never got to experience, and we saw all of her regrets on full display. Now we see the ramifications of those regrets, as well as the decision to give her body over to the War Devil. Now she literally has a devil inside of her. Half her brain is gone. Her thoughts are no longer her own, and she in the end has no choice but to work with the War Devil if she hopes to stay alive. This is a level of conflict writing that can only be pulled off if the mangaka has the balls to take the story dark, which we know Chainsaw Man is going to do, which is why that series is so refreshing in comparison to the other titles in Weekly Shonen Jump, with the exception being obviously Jujutsu Kaisen in my opinion. But backing things up though, let's get into the recap portion of the chapter before we go any further. So I love how this chapter opens up with Mitaka wondering if she was merely having a bad dream the night before, and as she does this, the news report speaks about the absence of Chainsaw Man this week, which is a nice tie-in to the fact that Mitaka is going to have to help the War Devil hunt down Chainsaw Man, all while making us as readers wonder what in the world's going on with Denji right now. It's then we see the War Devil has confronted Mitaka with a very terrible truth that is now her reality, and if she doesn't go along with her plans, Mitaka's gonna get killed. When Mitaka accuses the War Devil of killing her friends, she learns the hard way that the only person who can see the War Devil is her, and the War Devil doesn't physically exist except for in her own mind, but she's every bit as real as she fears. Even though when she tries to tell herself this is all hallucination, we as the audience know that that's not the truth. This is brilliant, and the reason being is that the War Devil has only taken over half her brain, and the reason why she left one half intact is downright genius, because she did so purely because she knew the fastest way of being exposed as a devil is if she began acting out of the societal norms that have been established. By leaving one half of Mitaka's brain to function, she's able to use that knowledge to allow Mitaka to proceed as normal, likely allowing her to also observe more human customs in this era before she eventually betrays Mitaka. We then learn that the War Devil's been busy looking for clues about Chainsaw Man and has tracked down that Denji attends the same school as Mitaka, which was done by matching the button that she found on the corpse of the devil and matching it to the uniform of the school. It's at that point that Mitaka slowly begins to realize how messed up of a situation she's in, and the War Devil again warns her, if you cross me, I'll kill you. I love this because what this does is it now allows both a psychological edge to the War Devil by playing on Mitaka's primal human instincts to stay alive, while also giving her something to lose by threatening to take the remaining half of her brain, and then later on dangle the restoration of her humanity by saying, I'll give it back to you if you successfully help me kill the Chainsaw Man. It's literally taking the concept of a deal with the devil and making it the driving factor of conflict in the story, and I love it for the progression of the plot because it does two things. So number one, it continues to make Mitaka someone who at the start of the last chapter was not lovable. She was not someone that the audience would traditionally root for. And number two, it pits her against Denji in the future, someone who we naturally love as the audience because we've seen his journey in Chainsaw Man Part 1. This is brilliant writing right here, which is why it's going to hurt so bad when you see Mitaka eventually meet her inevitable end, and it makes us eventually root for Denji to find a way to save her because she's in a tragic heroine situation. Fujimoto then throws in a little bit of dark humor by having Yoshida, who's posing to be one of her classmates, realize that she's talking to herself, and it seems like right now Mitaka has gotten on the radar of one of the devil hunters, so now we need to see how this is going to connect all the way back to Denji later on in the future. This allows him to show parts of the War Devil's powers while also foreshadowing other powers as well. So the War Devil can forcefully take Mitaka's consciousness over seemingly at any time that she wants to, and when she speaks of making Yoshida fall in love with her, which in turn would then make him into her possession, she says that she can then turn him into a weapon. Now in the past, we'd seen her make weapons out of body parts, but this is symbolic. It's literally literal, and I absolutely love it. Fujimoto right now is essentially saying that the biggest weapons of war are people, and it makes a lot of sense. Yes, weapons of war kill a lot of people in the war zones, but it's still mankind that pulls the trigger or presses the button that unleashes the nuclear weapons. It's a very base level of societal commentary that's so subtle that it's brilliant because it walks right up to your face and stops just short of being right in your face. It's, in a way, it mirrors Makima a lot. Makima used her power of control to make others do her bidding, but this is a different power that's being set up to be the potential opposite, willingly giving into the darkest impulses of mankind, which are love, which can be dark and make people do dark things, and murder, which can be done in the name of love. Even if Fujimoto only goes the route of having people fall for the war devil, in turn become those that she can turn into weapons, it still opens up the commentary of people and war and their reasons behind war all being interconnected. When Mitaka hears that the war devil is planning to go after the Chainsaw Man, she thinks to herself that she needs to find a devil hunter, and that's when she gets told that even in her own mind, her thoughts are not safe from the war devil, which makes a lot of sense. Half her mind belongs to the war devil, and so it makes sense that her thoughts are being shared with the war devil as well, which means that she's not even safe in her own mind. I love how the war devil, after making the threat, follows up that momentum of the situation to parlay it into making a deal with Mitaka. If she helps her destroy the Chainsaw Man, she'll give her body back. However, this is Chainsaw Man. This is not going to have a happy ending. And with the War Devil especially, there's something more to this arrangement that Mitaka has absolutely missed, and we as the audience are being kept in the dark about it, which means it's likely going to be revealed later on in the future. However, Mitaka is desperate right now, and desperate people can be manipulated into doing things that they themselves would know is wrong, but this is also Fujimoto making a social commentary on the nature of man. Societal norms and expectations go out the window when it becomes a matter of survival. Mitaka knows that she's working with the worst possible devil who she could ever have hoped to encounter, but her own desire to return back to normal life and fix the regrets that she experienced when she thought she was dying in the last chapter had pushed her to the point where she's primed for manipulation. What we're seeing right here is one of the 48 laws of power at work, which is that law that talks about controlling all the options so you can force people to be dependent on you, which also allows you to control all the options. We're seeing in 2 chapters how the War Devil is being set up as equally a strong of a villain as Makima, in my opinion, if this pace can continue. But even more brilliant is that we have a heroine in this part of the story to root for, but she's a tragic heroine, and there's a strong possibility that she won't have the same happy ending that Denji did in part 1, which makes a lot of sense. Denji and Mitaka, they parallel each other, but whereas Denji had the lovable Pochita, and we saw how there was genuine love all throughout that origin story for Denji, we're seeing Mitaka work with the devil who cares nothing about her, who is absolutely using her, is likely going to betray her, and we're watching the villain origin story all while watching the tragic downfall of a heroine, which this makes this part of the story so great. It's almost like we're seeing the path of the tyrant, which is the opposite of Joseph Campbell's concept of the hero's journey that he talks about in his book. So in the path of the tyrant, there's one moment where a different decision could have been made to prevent the first steps towards walking down that path of the tyrant. And we're seeing Mitaka both willingly and unwillingly be set down that path, which is inevitably going to end with her death or a rehabilitation that comes at a grave cost, which is perfect because we as the audience know that Mitaka is in for a very rough ride. And the way that Fujimoto ends off the chapter with Mitaka leaning away from the other 2 people in her group is a great use of body language to show the discomfort, as well as a great use of paneling to show that she herself is different from the people she has to work with. I love this chapter, from the societal commentary to the human element to the balls it took to go with the split personality concept, so as to both build up a truly evil villain while also making a tragic heroine in the process as well. I'm curious to know what you guys' thoughts on the chapter. While you think that over, consider watching these other videos you see on the screen right now.